Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada. We're now reading the Srimad-Bhagavatam day after day, after day after day, and we've reached the fourth canto. Lord Shiva is making prayers so that the Pachetas will know how to think. This is Krishna consciousness. We have to learn how to think for ourselves in Krishna consciousness. But you can't surrender to God unless you know how to think for yourselves. Think for yourselves doesn't mean you become independent of God. Think for yourself means you learn how to become completely dependent on God. And then you learn how to be independent of the material nature and free. Then love can come. Love is voluntary. Okay. Before we read the Bhagavatam, we always read Sanatana Goswami's prayer glorifying the Bhagavatam, which is full of transcendental knowledge and understanding of what the Bhagavatam is. So it's called Srimad-Bhagavata Mahima Stotram. It's from the Sri Krishna Lila Stava, verses 412 through 416. Written by Sanatana Goswami, the senior disciple. Rupa Goswami is his younger brother. So he accepts Rupa Goswami as his spiritual master, and Rupa Goswami accepts Sanatana Goswami as his spiritual master. So it doesn't have necessarily to do with age. And we are known as Rupa Nugas, even though Sanatana Goswami was the senior. Even though Lord Chaitanya spent more time instructing Sanatana Goswami than anyone else on the planet. Still, we accept Rupa Goswami as our leader. But Sanatana Goswami is also our leader and the leader of Rupa Goswami. So here we go. This is what he has to say about the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdipi Yusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarvalokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwandodita Ditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master, Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshaksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Man Nishtadaka Madbhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu saduta dayin atinit chochata kada hanamun chikadat jinmam primnarit kantayospuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. We call this the conch shell of Maya. Because every time it goes by, it's harder to hear Krishna consciousness. So we take this to be the conch shell of Maya. You know, oh, come over here. We'll teach you how to use this oil that we're... Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, for those of you who are new and have never heard the Bhagavatam before, this book is written in the Sanskrit language, and it's literally the history of the universe. It goes all the way up to Chandragupta, which is within the recent enough memory to be in the history books in India, the modern history books. It's been given a false, a false handle by the first Indologists, English and German, when they were trying to conquer India and dominate economically and politically. So they found that the culture, the Indian culture, was so deeply ingrained that the only way that we could be successful was to convince them that these literatures, of which this is the essence, there's millions of verses that describe the history of the universe in the Sanskrit language, which is the oldest language in the world, by the way. And all of the languages are based on it in one way or another, come from it. And the only way that they could do that was to teach them that it was mythology, that none of these things that are in the Bhagavatam in Sanskrit are actually real. Then they constructed a kind of history of the development of modern history based on the fact that nothing before 5,000 years ago even existed. The Sanskrit and the poetry and the elevated thought in these books doesn't fit into their worldview of how the universe unfolded at all. Anyway, now it seems there may be some scholars who are beginning to try to crack open the door of this layer upon layer upon layer of falsity that has been layered upon and clouded this literature so that people can't hear it for what it is. So we're very fortunate because my spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is the founder, Acharya, of this movement, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, mercifully came to the West, first pure devotee of Krishna, bringing the true, as it is version of these literatures. So you can learn a lot, but we're plugging in the middle, and there's things that you should have heard before, but turn up your thinking cap, and I'll try to explain it as best I can. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Thank you. Okay. The Prachetas, on the order of their father, who are the grandsons of Prithu Maharaj, an incarnation of Krishna, who was the king of the world at that time, came to the abode of Lord Shiva, and they found a very beautiful, large body of water. And they're about to enter that body and do severe austerities for a long time. And who happens along but Lord Shiva? And he's giving them prayers to Lord Vishnu, Krishna. And he's reciting those prayers to them. So now we're starting with text 37. There's more than 50 verses in this chapter, so we may not get through the whole thing, but we'll get through something. Text 37. O my Lord, O Aniruddha, you are the authority by which the doors of the higher planetary systems and liberation are opened. You are always within the pure heart of the living entity. Therefore I offer my obeisances unto you. You are the possessor of semen which is like gold, and thus in the form of fire you help Vedic sacrifices, beginning with Chaturhotra. Therefore I offer my obeisances unto you. Purport. The word Swarga indicates a position in the higher or heavenly planetary systems, and the word apavarga means liberation. Those who are attached to the karma-kandya activities described in the Vedas are actually entangled in the three modes of material nature. The Bhagavad Gita therefore says that one should be above the dominion of fruitive activities. There are 9 different kinds of liberation, or mukti. The best mukti is engagement in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Not only does Lord Aniruddha help fruitive actors by elevating them to the higher planetary systems, but he also helps Sorry, I went away here. Yeah, I found it. Not only does Lord Aniruddha help fruitive actors by elevating them to the higher planetary systems, but he also helps the devotee engaged in devotional service by dint of his inexhaustible energy. Just as heat is the source of material energy, the inspiration of Lord Aniruddha is the energy by which one can engage in executing devotional service. Text 38. My Lord, you are the provider of the Pitrilokas, as well as all the demigods. You are the predominating deity of the moon and the master of all the 3 Vedas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, because you are the original source of satisfaction for all living entities. Purport. When the living entity is born within this material world, especially as a human being, he has several obligations under the demigods, under the saintly persons, and under the living entities in general. As enjoined in the Shastras, Devarshi Bhutapta Nrinam Pitrinam. Srimad-Bhagavatam 11.5-41. Hare Krishna. Thus one has an obligation to one's forefathers, the previous hierarchy. Lord Shiva prays to Lord Aniruddha to give him strength so he can become free from all obligations or obligation to the pitas, demigods, general living entities, and saintly persons, and completely engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. As stated, Devarshi Bhutapta Nrinam Pitrinam Nakinkaro Nayam Vini Narajan Sarvatmana Yak Sharanam Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Parihrityakartam. One becomes free from all obligations to the demigods, saintly persons, pitas, ancient forefathers, etc. If one is completely engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. Lord Shiva therefore prays to Lord Aniruddha to give him strength so that he can be free from such obligations and entirely engage in the Lord's service. Soma, or the predominating deity of the moon, is responsible for the living entity's ability to relish the taste of food through the tongue. Lord Shiva prays to Lord Aniruddha to give him strength so that he will not taste anything but the prasad of the Lord. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung a verse indicating that the tongue is the most formidable enemy among all the senses. If one can control the tongue, he can easily control the other senses. The tongue can be controlled only by eating prasad offered to the deity. Lord Shiva's prayer to Lord Aniruddha is meant for this purpose. Tripti Daya. He prays to Lord Aniruddha to help him be satisfied by eating only prasad offered to the Lord. Text 39. My dear Lord, You are the gigantic universal form which contains all the individual bodies of the living entities. You are the maintainer of the three worlds, and as such, you maintain the mind, senses, body, and air of life within them. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport. As the individual body of the living entity is composed of millions of cells, germs, and microbes, the universal body of the Supreme Lord similarly contains all the individual bodies of the living entities. Lord Shiva is offering his obeisances to the universal body, which includes all other bodies, so that everyone's body may fully engage in devotional service. Since this individual body is composed of senses, all the senses should be engaged in devotional service. For instance, the smelling instrument, the nose, can engage in smelling the flowers offered to the lotus feet of the Lord. The hands can engage in cleansing the temple of the Lord, indeed, etc. Indeed, being the life air of every living entity, the Lord is the maintainer of the three worlds. Consequently, he can induce every living entity to engage in his real life's duty with full bodily and mental strength. Thus, every living entity should serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his prana, life, artha, wealth, intelligence, and words. As stated in the Srimad-Bhagavatam 10:22-35, Itavaj janmasapalyam dehinam iha dehishu pranay artayar diyabacha shriya acharanam sada. Even though one may desire to engage in the service of the Lord, without sanction, one cannot do so. Lord Shiva is offering his prayers in so many different ways in order to show living entities how to engage in the devotional service of the Lord. Text 40. There's a saying, God is great. Is it? Isn't it? Is that a saying? Have you heard that before? You hear it from all religions. God is great. But hardly anyone knows just how great he is or how that happens. The Bhagavatam and the purports of the Bhagavatam, written by my spiritual master, explains it all in excruciatingly sweet detail. Text 40. My dear Lord, by expanding your transcendental vibrations, you reveal the actual meaning of everything. You are the all-pervading sky within and without. Read that again. You are the all-pervading sky within and without, and you are the ultimate good of pious activities executed both within this material world and beyond it. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances again and again unto you. Purport. Vedic evidence is called Shabda Brahma. There are many things which are beyond the perception of our imperfect senses, yet the authoritative evidence of sound vibration is perfect. The Vedas are known as Shabda Brahma because evidence taken from the Vedas constitutes the ultimate understanding. This is because Shabda Brahma, or the Vedas, constitutes the ultimate understanding. This is because Shabda Brahma, or the Vedas, represents the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, the real essence of Shabda Brahma is the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. By vibrating this transcendental sound, the meaning of everything, both material and spiritual, is revealed. This Hare Krishna is non-different from the personality of Godhead. The meaning of everything is received through the air, through sound vibration. The vibration can be material or spiritual, but without sound vibration, no one can understand the meaning of anything. How did you learn your language? when you were a baby? Sound. That's it. No whiteboard, no teacher going like this, teaching you grammar. No, you made a mistake. It's like this. It's not like that. We just listened, and we watched, and listened. Every once in a while, a parent would say, "This is this," or "This is that." But we just listen and watch, listen and watch. This is the potency of sound. It's mystical. Therefore, here it says, the meaning of everything is received through the air, through sound vibration. The vibration may be material or spiritual, but without sound vibration, no one can understand the meaning of anything. In the Vedas it is said, Antar Bahish Chatat Sarvam Ryapam Narayana Kstita. Narayana is all-pervading, and he exists both within and without. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 13:34. Yata prakashat yeka kritsnam lokam imam ravi chetram chetri tata kritsnam prakashayati bharata. O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity and the supersoul illuminate the entire body by consciousness. In other words, the consciousness of both the soul and the supersoul is all-pervading. The limited consciousness of the living entity is pervading the entire material body, and the supreme consciousness of the Lord is pervading the entire universe. Because the soul is present within the body, consciousness pervades the entire body. Similarly, because the Supreme Soul, or Krishna, is present within this universe, everything is working in order. Maya Yakshina Prakriti Suyate Sachadachadam. This material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and it is producing all moving and non-moving beings. Bhagavad Gita 9:10. Lord Shiva is therefore praying to the personality of Godhead to be kind to us, so that simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we can understand everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. The word amushmai is significant in this regard because it indicates the best target one can aim for after attaining the higher planetary systems. Those who are engaged in fruitive activities, karmis, attain the higher planetary systems as a result of their past activities. And the jnanis, who seek unification or a monistic merging with the effulgence of the Supreme Lord, also attain their desired end. But in the ultimate issue, the devotees who desire to personally associate with the Lord are promoted to the Vaikuntha Lokas, or Goloka Vrindavan. The Lord is described in Bhagavad Gita 10:12 as Pavitram Paramam, the supreme pure. This is also confirmed in this verse. Shukadeva Goswami has stated that the cowherd boys who played with Lord Krishna were not ordinary living entities. Only after accumulating many pious activities and various births does one get the opportunity to personally associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since only the pure can reach him, he is the Supreme Pure. Text 41. My dear Lord, you are the viewer of the results of pious activities. You are the inclination, disinclination, and their resultant activities. You are the cause of the miserable conditions of life caused by irreligion, and therefore you are death. I offer you my respectful obeisances. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated in everyone's heart, and from him issue a living entity's inclinations and disinclinations. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15:15. Sarvasya chaham hridi sanabhisto matak smritir jnanam apavanam cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. The Supreme Personality of Godhead causes the asuras to forget Him and the devotees to remember Him. One's disinclinations are due to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. According to Bhagavad Gita, pravrittim cha, nivrittim cha, jana na vidurasuraha. That's 16:7. The asuras do not know which way one should be inclined to act, and which way one should not be inclined to act. Although the asuras oppose devotional service, it is to be understood that they are inclined that way due to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because the asuras do not like to engage in the Lord's devotional service, the Lord within gives them the intelligence to forget. Ordinary karmis desire promotion to Pitriloka, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9:25. Yanti deva vrta devyam devan pitrin yanti prati vrtaha. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods, and those who worship ancestors go to the ancestors. In this verse, the word dukkadaya is also very significant. For those who are non-devotees are perpetually put into the cycle of birth and death. This is a very miserable condition. Because one's position in life is attained according to one's activities, the asuras, or non-devotees, are put into such miserable conditions. Text 42. My dear Lord, you are the topmost of all bestowers of all benediction, the oldest and supreme enjoyer amongst all enjoyers. You are the master of all the world's metaphysical philosophy, for you are the supreme cause of all causes, Lord Krishna. You are the greatest of all religious principles, the supreme mind, and you have a brain which is never checked by any condition. Therefore I repeatedly offer my obeisances unto you. The words purport. The words Krishnaya akunta medase are significant in this verse. Modern scientists have stopped their brain work by discovering the theory of uncertainty. But factually, for a living being, there cannot be any brain activity which is not checked by time and space limitations. A living entity is called Anu, or an atomic particle of the Supreme Soul, and therefore his brain is also atomic. It cannot accommodate unlimited knowledge. This does not mean, however, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna has a limited brain. What Krishna says and does is not limited by time and space. In Bhagavad Gita 7:26, the Lord says, Vidaham samatitani vartamanani charjana bhavishani chabhutani mam tu veda nakaschana. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all things that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me, no one knows. Krishna knows everything, but one cannot know Krishna without being favored by him. Thus, for Krishna and his representative, there is no question of a theory of uncertainty. What Krishna says is all perfect and certain, and is applicable to the past, present, and future. Nor is there any uncertainty for one who knows exactly what Krishna says. The Krishna consciousness movement is based on Bhagavad Gita as it is, as spoken by Lord Krishna, And for those who are engaged in this movement, there is no question of uncertainty. Lord Krishna is also addressed herein as Ashisham Isha. The great saintly personalities, sages, and demigods are able to offer benedictions to ordinary living entities, but they in turn are benedicted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without being benedicted by Krishna, one cannot offer benediction to anyone else. The word Manave, meaning under the Supreme Manu, is also significant. The Supreme Manu in Vedic literature is Swayambhuva Manu, who is an incarnation of Krishna. All the Manus are empowered incarnations of Krishna, Manvantara avatars. There are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma, 420 in 1 month, 5,040 in 1 year, and 504,000 Manus in the lifetime of Brahma. Since all the Manus are directors of human society, ultimately Krishna is the supreme director of human society. In another sense, the word Manave indicates the perfection of all kinds of mantras. The mantra delivers the conditioned soul from his bondage. So simply by chanting the mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, one can gain deliverance from any condition. Karanatmane. Everything, that's a nice step. This is why we should chant Hare Krishna. Because we can gain deliverance from any condition. It's nice. No? Karanatmane. Everything has a cause. The theory of chance is reputed in this verse. Because everything has a cause, there is no question of chance. Because so-called philosophers and scientists are unable to find the real cause, they foolishly say that everything happens by chance. In the Brahma Samhita, Krishna is described as the cause of all causes because he is addressed herein as Karanatmane. His very personality is the original cause of everything, the root of everything, and the seed of everything. As described in the Vedanta Sutra 112, Janmad Yasya Yataha, Srimad-Bhagavatam 111. So the first verse of the Bhagavatam, this book we're reading, and the second verse of the Vedanta Sutra is the same. It all fits together, all the Vedic literatures. Therefore you hear various verses being cross-referenced to confirm what's being said. This is authority. The Absolute Truth is the supreme cause of all emanations. The word Sankhya Yogeshwaraya is also significant herein, for Krishna is described in the Bhagavad Gita as Yogeshwara, the master of all mystic powers. Without possessing inconceivable mystic powers, one cannot be accepted as God. In this age of Kali, those who have a little fragmental portion of mystic power claim to be God. But such pseudo-gods can only be accepted as fools. For only Krishna is the Supreme Person who possesses all mystic and yogic perfections. The Sankhya Yoga system popular at the present moment was propounded by the atheist Kapila, but the original Sankhya Yoga system was propounded by an incarnation of Krishna also named Kapila, the son of Devahuti. Similarly, Dattatreya, another incarnation of Krishna, also explained the Sankhya Yoga system. Thus Krishna is the origin of all Sankhya Yoga systems and mystic yogic powers. The words Purushaya, Puranaya are also worthy of special attention. In Brahma Samhita, Krishna is accepted as the Adipurusha, the original person, or the original enjoyer. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is also accepted as Purana Purusha, the oldest person. Although he is the oldest of all personalities, he is also the youngest of all, or Navayovana. Another significant word is Dharmaya. Since Krishna is the original propounder of all kinds of religious principles, it is said, Dharmam tu sakshad bhagavat pranitam. Bhagavatam 6.3.19. No one can introduce a new type of religion, for religion is already there, having been established by Lord Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna informs us of the original Dharma and asks us to give up all kinds of religious principles. The real Dharma is surrender unto Him. In the Mahabharata, it is also said, Ye cha veda vido vipra, ye cha dhyatma vido janaha, te vadanti mahatmanam, krishnam dharmam sanatanam. The purport is that one who has studied the Vedas perfectly, who is a perfect vipra, or knower of the Vedas, who knows what spiritual life actually is, speaks about Krishna, the Supreme Person, as one's Sanatan Dharma. Lord Shiva therefore teaches us the principles of Sanatan Dharma. Text 43. My dear Lord, you are the supreme controller of the worker, sense activities, and results of sense activities, karma. Therefore you are the controller of the body, mind, and senses. You are also the supreme controller of egotism, known as Rudra. You are the source of knowledge and the activities of the Vedic injunctions. Purport. Everyone acts under the dictation of the ego. Therefore Lord Shiva is trying to purify false egotism through the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since Lord Shiva, or Rudra, is himself the controller of egotism, he indirectly wants to be purified by the mercy of the Lord, so that his real egotism can be awakened. Of course, Lord Rudra is always spiritually awake, but for our benefit, he is praying in this way. For the impersonalist, pure egotism is aham brahmasmi. I am not this body. I am spirit soul. But in its actual position, the spiritual soul has devotional activities to perform. Therefore, Lord Shiva prays to be engaged both in mind and in action in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord, according to the direction of the Vedas. This is the process for purifying false egotism. Cheta means knowledge. Without perfect knowledge, one cannot act perfectly. The real source of knowledge is the vacha, the sound vibration given by Vedic instructions. Here the word vacha, or vibration, means the Vedic vibration. The origin of creation is sound vibration, and if the sound vibration is clear and purified, perfect knowledge and perfect activities actually become manifest. This is enacted by the chanting of the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thus Lord Shiva is praying again and again for the purification of body, mind, and activities, through the purification of knowledge and action under the pure directions of the Vedas. Lord Shiva prays to the Supreme Personality of Godhead so that his mind and senses and words will all turn toward devotional activities only. Lord Shiva ki jai. Text 44. My dear Lord, I wish to see you exactly in the form that your dear, very dear devotees worship. You have many other forms, but I wish to see your form that is especially liked by the devotees. Please be merciful upon me and show me that form, for only that form worshipped by the devotees can perfectly satisfy all the demands of the senses. Shall I read that again?
Please.
Okay. Okay. Oh, all right. My dear Lord, I wish to see you exactly in that form that your very dear devotees worship. You have many other forms, but I wish to see your form that is especially liked by your devotees. Please be merciful upon me, and show me that form. For only that form worshipped by the devotees can perfectly satisfy all the demands of the senses. Hare Krishna. Let that sink in for a minute. Purport. In the Shruti, or Veda mantra, it is said that the Supreme Absolute Truth is Sarva Kama, Sarva Gandha, Sarva Rasa. Or in other words, he is known as Raso Vai Sa, the source of all relishable relationships, rasas. We have various senses, the powers of seeing, tasting, smelling, touching, etc. And all the propensities of our senses can be satisfied when the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord. Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam, Bhaktir Uchate. Bhakti means engaging all the senses in the service of the master of the senses, Rishikesha. Narda Pancharatra. These material senses, however, cannot be engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, one has to become free from all designations. Sarvobhati, Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam, Tatpadat Vena Nirmalam. One has to become free from all designation or false egotism, and thus become purified. When we engage our senses in the service of the Lord, the desires or inclinations of the senses can be perfectly fulfilled. Lord Shiva therefore wants to see the form, in a form which is inconceivable to the Bauddha philosophers or the Buddhists. The impersonalists and the voidists also have to see the form of the Absolute. In Buddhist temples there are forms of Lord Buddha in meditation, but these are not worshipped like the forms of the Lord in Vaishnava temples. Forms like Radha, Krishna, Sita, Rama, or Lakshmi, Narayana. Amongst the different sampradayas, Vaishnava sects, either Radha Krishna or Lakshmi Narayan is worshipped. Lord Shiva wants to see that form perfectly, just as the devotees want to see it. The words Rupam, Priyatamam, Swanam are specifically mentioned here, indicating that Lord Shiva wants to see that form which is very dear to the devotees. The word Swanam is especially significant because only the devotees are very, very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Jnanis, Yogis, and Karmis are not particularly dear, for the Karmis simply want to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their order supplier. Dear Lord, give us our daily bread. The Jnanis want to see Him, to become one with Him, and the Yogis want to see Him partially represented within their heart as Paramatma. But the Bhaktas, or the devotees, want to see Him in His complete perfection. As stated in Brahma Samhita, Venum kwanantam adavinda dalaya taksham barha batang asitam buddhasundarangam kandarpikota kemaniya vishesha shobham govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. That song is sung every day before the curtains open in our temples, before we see the Lord. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept at playing on his flute, whose eyes are blooming like lotus petals, whose head is bedecked with peacock feathers, whose beauty is tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and whose unique loveliness charms millions of cupids. Thus Lord Shiva's desire is to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead as He is described in this way. That He is, in this way, He wants to see Him as that is, He wants to see Him as He appears to the Bhagavatas, the devotees. The conclusion is that Lord Shiva wants to see Him in complete perfection and not in the impersonalist or voidist way. Although the Lord is one in His various forms, Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadyam, still His form as the young enjoyer of the gopis and companion of the cowherd boys, Kishora Murti, is the most perfect form. Thus Vaishnavas accept the form of the Lord in His Vrindavan pastimes as the chief form. Text 45 and 46. Okay, one more. Two more. The Lord's beauty resembles a dark cloud during the rainy season. As the rainfall glistens, His bodily features also glisten. Indeed, He is the sum total of all beauty. The Lord has 4 arms and an exquisitely beautiful face, with eyes like lotus petals, a beautifully highly raised nose, a mind-attracting smile, a beautiful forehead, and equally beautiful and fully decorated ears. Purport. After the scorching heat of the summer season, it is very pleasing to see dark clouds in the sky. As confirmed in Brahma Samhita, Parha Vatang Asatam Bodhisundarangam. The Lord wears a peacock feather in His hair, and His bodily complexion is just like a blackish cloud. The word Sundara, or Snigdha, means very pleasing. Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya. Krishna's beauty is so pleasing that not even millions upon millions of cupids can compare to it. The Lord's form as Vishnu is decorated in all opulence. Therefore Lord Shiva is trying to see that most opulent form of Narayana or Vishnu. Generally, the worship of Lord Krishna begins with the worship of Narayana or Vishnu, whereas the worship of Lord Krishna and Radha is most confidential. Lord Narayana is worshipped by the Pancharatriki Vidhi, or regulated principles, whereas Lord Krishna is worshipable by the Bhagavata Vidhi. No one can worship the Lord in the Bhagavata Vidhi without going through the regulations of the Pancharatrika Vidhi. Actually, neophyte devotees worship the Lord according to the Pancharatrika Vidhi, or the regulated principles enjoined in the Narada Pancharatra. Radha Krishna cannot be approached by neophyte devotees. Therefore, temple worship according to the regulated principles is offered to Lakshmi, Narayana. Although there may be a Radha Krishna Vigraha or form, the worship of the neophyte devotees is acceptable as Lakshmi, Narayana. Worship. Worship according to the Pancharatrika Vidhi is called Vidhimarg, and worship according to the Bhagavat Vidhi principles is called Ragmarg. The principles of Ragmarg are especially meant for devotees who are elevated to the Vrindavan platform. The inhabitants of Vrindavan, the gopis, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, the cowherd boys, the cows, and everyone else are actually on the Ragmarg or Bhagavat Marg platform. They participate in 5 basic rasas: Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya, and Shanta. I'll say these what they mean. Shanta means neutrality, seeing the wonder of the Lord. Dasya means servitude. Sakya means friendship. Vatsalya means parental love. And Madhurya means conjugal love. But although these 5 rasas are found in the Bhagavat Marg, the Bhagavata Marg is especially meant for Vatsalya and Madhurya, or parental and conjugal relationships. Yet there is the Vishwambha Sakya, the higher fraternal worship of the Lord, especially enjoyed by the cowherd boys. Although there is friendship between Krishna and the cowherd boys, this friendship is different from the Aishwarya friendship between Krishna and Arjuna. When Arjuna saw the Vishwarupa, the gigantic universal form of the Lord, he was afraid for having treated Krishna as an ordinary friend. Therefore he begged Krishna's pardon. However, the cowherd boys, who were the friends of Krishna in Vrindavan, sometimes ride on the shoulders of Krishna. They treat Krishna equally, just as they treat one another, and they are never afraid of him, nor do they ever beg his pardon. Thus, the Ragmarg or Bhagavad Marg friendship exists on a higher platform with Krishna, namely the platform of Vishwamba friendship. Parental friendship, parental service, and conjugal love are visible in the Vrindavan Ragmarg relationships. Without serving Krishna according to Vidhimarg, regulated principles of the Pancharatrika Vidhi, unscrupulous persons want to jump immediately to the Ragmarg principles. Such persons are called Sahaja. There are also demons who enjoy depicting Krishna and his pastimes with the gopis, taking advantage of Krishna by their licentious character. These demons, who print books and write lyrics on the Ragmarg principles, are surely on the way to hell. Unfortunately, they lead others down with them. Devotees in Krishna consciousness should be very careful to avoid such demons. One should strictly follow the Vidhimarg, regulated principles in the worship of Lakshmi Narayana, although the Lord is present in the temple as Radha Krishna. Radha Krishna includes Lakshmi Narayana. Therefore, when one worships the Lord according to the regulated principles, the Lord accepts the service in the role of Lakshmi Narayana. In the Nectar Devotion, full instructions are given about the Vidhimarg worship of Radha Krishna or Lakshmi Narayana. Although there are 64 kinds of offenses one can commit in Vidhimarg, worship in the Ragmarg worship, there's no consideration. In Ragmarg worship, there's no consideration of such offenses because the devotees who are on that platform are very much elevated and there's no question of offense. But if we do not follow the regulated principles on the Vidhimarg platform and keep our eyes trained to spot offenses, we will not make progress. In his description of Krishna's beauty, Lord Shiva uses the words Charvard Yata Chaturbahu Sujata Ruchiranamam, indicating the beautiful four-armed form of Narayana or Vishnu. Those who worship Lord Krishna describe him as Sujata Ruchiranam. In the Vishnu Tattva, there are hundreds and thousands of millions of forms of the Supreme Lord. But of all these forms, the form of Krishna is the most beautiful. Thus, for those who worship Krishna, the word Sujata Ruchirananam is used. The four arms of Lord Vishnu have different purposes. The hands holding a lotus flower and conch shell are meant for the devotees, whereas the other two hands holding a disc and mace or club are meant for the demons. Actually, all of the Lord's arms are auspicious, whether they are holding conch shells and flowers or clubs and discs. The demons killed by Lord Vishnu's chakra and disc and club are elevated to the spiritual world, just like the devotees who are protected by the hands holding the lotus flower and conch shell. However, the demons who are elevated to the spiritual world are situated in the impersonal Brahman effulgence, whereas the devotees are allowed to enter into the Vaikuntha planets. Those who are devotees of Lord Krishna are immediately elevated to the Goloka, Vrindavan planet. The Lord's beauty is compared to rainfall because when the rain falls in the rainy season, it becomes more and more pleasing to the people. After the scorching heat of the summer season, the people enjoy the rainy season very much. Indeed, they even come out of their doors in the villages and enjoy the rainfall directly. Thus the Lord's bodily features are compared to the clouds of the rainy season. The devotees enjoy the Lord's beauty because it is a collection of all kinds of beauties. Therefore the word Sarva Saundarya Sangramam is used. No one can say that the body of the Lord is wanting in beautiful parts. It is completely Purnam. Everything is complete. God's creation, God's beauty, and God's bodily features. All these are so complete that all one's desires can become fully satisfied when one sees the beauty of the Lord. The Lord's Sarva Saundarya indicates that there are different types of beauties in the material and spiritual worlds, and that the Lord contains all of them. Both materialists and spiritualists can enjoy the beauty of the Lord, because the Supreme Lord attracts everyone, including demons and devotees, materialists and spiritualists. He is called Krishna. Similarly, his devotees also attract everyone. As mentioned in the Shad Goswami Stotra, Dhira Dhira Jana Priyo, the Goswamis are equally dear to the Dhira devotees and Adhira demons. Lord Krishna was not very pleasing to the demons when he was present in Vrindavan, but the 6 Goswamis were pleasing to the demons when they were present in the Vrindavan. That is the beauty of the Lord's dealings with his devotees. Sometimes the Lord gives more credit to his devotees than he takes for himself. For instance, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Lord Krishna fought simply by giving directions. Yet it was Arjuna who took the credit for fighting. Nimitta matram babhyasabhyasachin. You, O Savyasachi, Arjuna, can be but an instrument in the fight. Bhagavad Gita 11:33. Everything was arranged by the Lord, but the credit of victory was given to Arjuna. Similarly, in the Krishna consciousness movement, everything is happening according to the predictions of Lord Chaitanya, but the credit goes to Lord Chaitanya's sincere servants. Thus, the Lord is described herein as Sarva Saundarya Sangramam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nobody can write like that. Nobody can explain God like that. Only a liberated soul can do that. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll close the reading for tonight. Now we will ask for any reflections, anything that stood out in your mind during the reading, anything you want to describe in more detail, or question, or whatever. You see this? This is a microphone. Now you get your chance to get on the mic. And you go all over the world. There's 1,350 followers of this page. And we're doing this every single day. The only time I don't do it is when I'm on a long haul flight. Okay, sorry, but the local saint will start.
So one of the purports mentions that devotees are not bewildered by the theories of uncertainty. So my comment or question is, when Prabhupada first came out with one of the first versions of the Bhagavatam, he quoted a verse from the Bhagavatam that mentions, if even though imperfectly composed, if this is heard by honest men, they will accept it. So there may be small irregularities in the translation and so forth, but somehow Prabhupada has the potency to touch people's hearts and make devotees. So could you comment on this thing that we can be certain of the Bhagavad Gita and the literatures, even though there may be slight, like maybe different ways of saying things and so forth.
Thank you, Sarva. That's why I call him a local saint, because he asks deep questions. First of all, there's a difference in the uncertainty principle that is being referred to here by the scientists. The scientists have a conclusion that it's called the serendipity principle, that everything, atrophy, everything, if you leave it alone, it disintegrates into chaos. Now, the question is, how come they're looking for the absolute truth? They don't say they are, but in making their experiments to try to prove what they do want to prove, or their theories, they always try to reduce the error, plus or minus error, that comes from the senses and the consciousness of the perceiver. So I questioned my physics teacher. I almost didn't get my A. And I said, well, yeah, but you're always trying to reduce the uncertainty principle down to zero. So you are looking for your absolute truth. He said, we don't ask questions like that. Get out of here. That's the kind of uncertainty principle that they're talking about, that Prabhupada's talking about here. But it doesn't mean that just because a person doesn't know the language perfectly and he doesn't make actually perfect grammatical compositions, that there's uncertainty. There is no uncertainty. In the words of the liberated soul, there's no uncertainty in the Vedas. Therefore, there's a difference in the uncertainty that you mentioned and the uncertainty that the scientists mentioned. The normal use of the word uncertainty.
And Prabhupada said we have certainty about Bhagavad Gita and the scriptures and the Vedas. So my question was just that when he first came out with the first editions of some of his books,
it wasn't his first language, Sarva. So therefore, I'm telling, you're asking the question, so I'm telling the answer, but I know that you're the local saint, so you're trying to say something else, so I'll let you get the microphone back, but I got to clarify this for the masses of people, especially the audience it means his ideas are perfect. There's no uncertainty in his translations. But because he's speaking it in a second language, sometimes his language may not be completely perfect. Therefore, what did he do when he brought that book? He started in the editorial department, and he had the books edited into perfect English, as perfect as possible. And we're still trying to get it perfect. And this is one. We read just now 10, 15, maybe 20 pages the most, out of 18,000 in this one book. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, shall I? I have privy to the latest changes that edits have been made. This one happened just the other day, just to show you. This was done by Dravida out of his genius, because he's been working at it for a very long time. This'll just take me a second to find it, don't mind. Yeah, here it is. The sentence contains this phrase that needed to be corrected. False arguments and counter theories to atheistic philosophy. This is Madhya 25:43, Chaitanya Charitamrita. The actual meaning is false arguments and counter theories to theistic philosophy. So in hearing the tapes, because Prabhupada did these books by tapes, somebody heard atheistic instead of theistic. And they wrote atheistic when the word was meant to be theistic. So that is a contradiction. And therefore that needs to be corrected. But it's not that Prabhupada made any of those imperfections. But he may have, in some ways, not understood the phrasing. I'll give you another example. This is more like phrasing. That was, he asked us to edit. He asked his editors to edit for clarity and force. Right? So here was the sentence that needed to be edited. This is the parampara system, the disciplic succession period. The import of Vedic knowledge, comma, the original word pranava, comma, has been explained in Srimad-Bhagavatam. Is that clear? Not very. Here's the edit. In this way, by the parampara system, or disciplic succession, the import of Vedic knowledge is explained, or gradually the original pranava is explained in Srimad-Bhagavatam. Of course, you'd have to hear that in context to get just how much clearer that is. But just reading the one sentence is so much more clear. Therefore, if devotees talk to you about the changes in the books, the edits, and say that they're changing Prabhupada's books, and therefore we've lost Prabhupada, and you should kill them, don't take them seriously. I mean, I just exaggerated. Not many people say like that, but there is an issue of controversy going on. In other words, contradictions in these books and contradictions in the Vedas are only apparent. And it's up to us to resolve the apparent contradictions in our minds. And when you resolve those apparent contradictions, then you can give yourself or surrender to Krishna without any hesitation, without any argument. I'll give you a nice quote from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in which Prabhupada says it's, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying it. Just try to hear these topics. The author requests every reader to hear these topics with faith and without argument. By studying them in this way, one will be able to understand the confidential truth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anyone who desires to cross over the ocean of nations, please hear with great faith the life and characteristics of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Just try to hear these topics with faith, for there is great pleasure even in hearing them. That hearing will destroy all miseries pertaining to the body, mind, and other living entities, and the unhappiness of false arguments as well. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is ever increasingly fresh. For one who hears it again and again, the heart and ear become pacified. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Anta 19, 110 to 112. So we suffer because we're giving false arguments. So when we find out what the truth is, and we stop giving false arguments, and can hear in a way that the sound can go through the physical ear into the mental ear, and through the mental ear into the intelligence, and through the intelligence to the soul, then you will wake up, and everything becomes clear, and then you're free to see Krishna face to face. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay, I'm going to stop now because there's a program going on in the temple in a few minutes. Anybody who wants to go there can run and go. See Krishna face to face. But you already have, actually, in these words, in these sounds. Lucky you. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Lord Shiva ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much.